friends, welcome to another edition of Beavertown Outdoors. I'm John. I'm out here at the beautiful Beavertown compound. So we went from all the warm and rain and all that earlier in the winter to the big snow blizzard, which got a lot of views for that video. Me cleaning that up. Thank you very much to everyone and all my new subscribers. But after that, it got really cold. I guess not by some people's standards. I guess if you're in North Dakota or something, you'd think you were in a heat wave if you were in our temperatures. But yeah, for here in Michigan, it's gotten pretty cold, down to 0 and below at night. But that's what we deal with in the winter. So one thing I noticed, what I'm talking about today, is outdoor boilers, particularly one like mine, the Classic Edge 550, which is a gas fire boiler. It's not one of the very early versions, which would have been the E Classic. It's one of the, but it's one of the first generations where they switched to the Classic Edge, the 550. Now mine, I have modified it, changed it to the tube style inner air channels and whatnot, and it's worked great. The only thing I noticed, is that like lately, I'm burning a lot, I'm burning plenty of wood, which that's normal for this time of year, but I'm noticing my reaction chamber temperatures have been lower than I would expect. I do burn, what you can see back here, I do burn all seasoned wood, split roughly around 4 inches, some smaller, some bigger. I know some people, especially if you have a conventional boiler, you don't typically burn wood that's split like this. I definitely don't burn green wood. To me, splitting it makes it season better, makes it burn better. You burn in less water. That's the only thing when you burn green wood, you're actually spending a lot of the wood's energy trying to burn the water out of the wood, boil it out basically. So you don't have that as much with the seasoned dry wood. But one of the things that seems to happen with mine, and I don't know if it happens with the newer models, the 560 or even the titanium 550s, when they change to the motor system. Mine has the old solenoids on the primary and secondary air tubes, and with mine, if we have a lot of period where it's warm and the stove's smoldering a lot, but then go down to really cold like this, it seems to have this phenomenon where it builds up creosote tar in the primary. My theory is you're getting with the smoldering that you had, you build up water, you build up moisture in there, which tracks some creosote, gets that started building up. It seems like once you start building it up, it keeps building up, because when it gets really cold like this, you're pulling a lot of cold air in, which is causing more condensation. No matter what, there is some moisture, even in seasoned wood, there's moisture in the air, and when you're drawing in super cold air into a hot firebox, you're going to get some condensation in areas where it transitions. And I think that primary tube is where that transitions. Now, I don't know, like I said again, if Central Boiler has figured out this issue and fixed it already. I am going to tag them on this video just so they can see this. Maybe they'll chime in with some pointers. But the only thing I've seemed to be able to find is to pay attention to the reaction chamber temperatures, which on Central Boiler, it is a matter of just looking at an app, and I'll pull it up here. So, I don't know if you can see this, but it's an app, and that basically, it's a quick link, and it sends you to firestar.com, and my stove uploads data to it constantly, and you can see through it. You can see, oops, get it here. You can select the time range you want, and it tells you by time events, what was going on. Tells you the exact temperature that the reaction chamber. So I got this, the water temperature, and then here's the reaction chamber. Now, so okay, at the end it got to 1185, but typically with the wood I usually see somewhere in the range of 12 to 1300. But you can see too in the middle of the night it had these little low spikes, which means it didn't burn very hot. In fact, it looks like it barely, well, it got only about to 800 degrees. And again, when I've seen that before, that typically means, okay, there's probably some creosote in the primary. It's not getting enough primary air, because the primary air is what actually starts the fire burning. The secondary is what burns the smoke and the unburned particles. It gets them burned by shooting air into those superheated gases and particles, causing them to burn, causes the blowtorch. If you ever watch Central Boilers ads, you've seen them. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you, for anyone else who owns one of these, if you've never run into this issue, or if you run into this issue for the first time, something to check. It's a good idea to check it, like I said, again, when you have a drastic shift in temperatures over a period of time. You know, one day at warm and then cold probably isn't going to do this, but when you have a long period of really warm and then you go into this really cold, and even sometimes when we haven't had that, I've noticed it too, is if we had a really particularly cold winter, I think it's just something, again, that builds up because of the difference in temperature. The air that the fan is blowing in is super cold, and the boiler is super warm, which way it should be. And you get that, again, anywhere you get condensation, you're going to get creosote. So we're going to pull off, and I'll bring you over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull off this big box here, and then behind here is the fan, the solenoids, the primary tubes, and all that. And we're going to pull this off, and then we're going to check. I'm going to actually pull the primary off. The secondary, I've never had it plug up, and so I'm not going to bother checking that. The secondary seems to be working fine. It's just that it's taken a while to get it up to the temperature where the secondary kicks in. So I'll show you where the primary elbow is. I'll show you how to pull it off, and then we'll pull it out and we'll see what's in there. If there's tar in there, we're literally gonna have to get in there and just scrape it out. And then usually what I do with it, maybe good, maybe bad, I just open the boiler up, throw it in there, let it reburn it. It seems to get rid of it. So for this project, basically to get this open and get the tube off, you just need 2 nut drivers. And everybody had the different color codes. You know, with the old Craftsman, there's the yellow and the red. You know, so you need a 1/4 inch nut driver, and you need, I think it's a 3. It's so old I can't even read them anymore. 3 3/16? 1/4 and a 5/16. So I don't know if you can read either of these. But these are the nut drivers you need. So you need this one. There's 2 little screws underneath this big box that we got to take out. That lifts that box off, and then you just open the door on the blower chamber, and then you need this nut driver, the bigger one, to actually, there's a hose clamp that holds the solenoid and primary tube onto the boiler itself. So you'll need to pull that off. So I'm going to change camera angle here, and we'll go ahead and get started. I forgot to mention one other thing. When you do this, make sure you shut the boiler off, okay? And it's also good to do this right after it had a burn cycle. You know, the chamber is 680 degrees, the water's up to temp, because you're going to have to shut this off for a few minutes. And in this kind of temperatures, if you've got any kind of draw, you know, and I got a lot. I got a greenhouse, I got the house, I got, you know, if anybody runs hot water, takes a shower, whatever, you need, you know, pull a draw and to pull it down quickly. But 2 things, but you want to do it right after you burn. But you want to shut this off so that the solenoids, so the boiler can't kick on. So the blower, the solenoids, all that doesn't kick on, because you're actually going to have to take 2 wires off to do this. So I'm going to set you back down, and we're going to get started. And boy, are my hands cold. Okay, so I don't know if you can see it. Hopefully you can see one of them. There's a screw right here. There's one on each side. And basically, I asked about why they're there, and the dealer told me they're there so that the wind doesn't pick this up and blow it off. Makes sense. So just gonna take this out. You don't need a gun for this. In fact, if you use a gun, you could actually strip these screws out. How do I know that? Because I did it once and almost stripped them out. So, I mean, you can do it if you're very careful, but you know, it gets cold out, your hands get cold sometimes, they don't quite function the way you want. And, well, there you go. So I got the screws out, and then after that, this just lifts up and off. So, and again, this is just it's just a shield. I'm gonna put the screws in here so we don't lose them. But you got here, this is the blower box, and then over here is where it draws air into the blower. And then what it is this box is sealed. You'll see when I open it up, there's a divider in here. But basically, the blower blows through to this side of the box, which is sealed off, and it's sealed off to pressurize it. And then all the solenoids do is open up a flap that lets the air into the tube. So to open this, now if I can do it, I don't know if I can get it with these gloves on. I can't. My poor hands. Okay, so you just turn those and you open this up. So you can see inside, here's how this chamber works. So here, and I actually got to replace this seal someday. This might be leading to some of my problems. There's a rubber seal here that seals tight against this door. So you got to watch, you don't want to bump this and warp this door or else it won't seal anymore. We got the blower here which pulls in air, and then the blower discharges right here in this opening, pressurizes this, and as each of the 3 stages call for heat, you got the first one when it calls this, or when you're in a pulse, this is the primary tube here. And this solenoid opens up and lets air in. That starts the combustion going. Once it reaches a certain temperature, once it reaches 550 degrees, then this is a 2-stage. And I don't remember which one opens first, to be honest with you. But at the second stage, one of these will open up, so it'll kind of open halfway. And starts letting some air in through the secondary, which starts the bottom combustion going. Okay, it starts burning off some of those gases. So it'll do that until it reaches 750 degrees, which is the minimum temperature for a full burn. And the second solenoid opens up, so then this whole lid comes up and it's wide open, and it lets way more air through the secondary. So, and that'll burn it, and that'll keep it going and keep getting hotter until it reaches, on the gauge, it'll reach 1200 or more degrees. I've seen it as high as 1600 if I was burning oak or something that a wood with a lot of BTUs. Typically this year I've been burning hard maple, which is pretty close to oak. Usually gets a peak temperature on the reading about 1400, and according to Central Boiler, that reading isn't necessarily accurate because of where the temperature probe is, and the limitations of that temperature probe. So that's not the exact temperature. I think they said something roughly around 1000, somewhere like 800 to 1000 degrees more, something like that. It's higher than what it reads, but you learn over time to judge what's a good burn on that. And they kind of, some of the newer ones have a percentage. They don't display the actual temperature, and I think at 1200, I think is where it says it's at 100% efficiency. Or it's 12 or 1300, and then it goes above that, and that's how you get some guys are like, how do I have 110% efficiency? Well, you're higher than the optimum burn temperature. So anyway, what we're going to want to check today is this primary tube here. This is where every once in a while we get a buildup of creosote. In fact, you can see in here where I've scraped some of it out, and then it's, some of the little bits have actually dried. I didn't get them all out. But if you got a big blob in there, that's the biggest point of what I'm trying to gather. All this little stuff, we can clean that out when the season's over. So to take this out, you got these two wires here. These are what activate the solenoid. So when it calls for heat, it actually energizes these wires. Solenoid. If you want to learn how a solenoid works, you can look that up. So I'm going to take these off. I don't know that it matters, but I try to remember, and I can remember it now usually over time, is that the white, which color wire is in front. So for mine, the white wire is in front, the orange is in the back. I'm not sure that it even matters because we're dealing with AC current, but I try to remember it anyway. And if you do it carefully, you can kind of pull them off, just bend them off there. Try to do it nicely. That way you don't stress these connectors and make them loose, because if they're loose, then you're going to have a high resistance connection. You're going to build up heat, and that could lead to your solenoid failing. So I don't want that, because they only seem to want to fail right when you don't want them to. So I'm not sure if you can see it because it's kind of dark back there, but there's a couple of hose clamps here, and I'm actually going to pull the one all the way into the back, so I can pull this right off where the metal starts on the there's a little metal tube that comes out from the inner air chambers where that slides onto. So I'm going to pull that off so that way we get any tar off of this that we can get. I'm just going to reach back here. I'm going to try to do it without blocking the camera. Okay, so you just loosen this up. You don't got to take it all the way off. Just loosen it up. Now, when you pull this, you still got to be careful, because unless you unhook the ground wire, which it's got a screw on it, that's still going to be connected. But now we got to wiggle this a lot. And one of the other tools you're going to need to have it ready is, I use this. It's an old pick I had from, large one. I used to use it for taking like cotter pins out and stuff like that. But it works really well, because if there is a lot of tar in there, you're going to want to actually kind of angle this in and scrape some of it out around the inner area of the tube behind this, where this connects to. So let's pull this out, see what we got. And yep, not too horrible, but I don't know if you can see. So there's a big bunch of tar built up in here, and there's also some built up in here. So before this cools off, I just want to get in here and scrape this, scrape this loose. And again, be careful not to yank that ground wire off. But here you can start to see some of it coming off and coming out of there. I really don't want to fling any of this at my camera. That would be really sad. Let's see. Yeah, see, we get this tar buildup in here, and all it's doing is restricting the primary and making it so you're not getting as much air in the primary, which means if you don't get the fire going, it'll, if you don't, that's the only source this has for air is through this primary. Yeah, so I'm gonna take another tool I use. It's a paint scraper. It's from a big green box store. But this is kind of a good size to get in here and really get a good scrape on this. And try not to poke a hole in the rubber tube there. And again, this isn't going to be, I'm not going to be perfect on this one. It's cold. But yeah, so there's still a good amount in there. I'm going to try to get this out of here as best I can. Again, ain't going to be able to get perfect, but at least get this opened up and get more air going into it. Too, another thing I do is dump it out. Because you see the water that comes out of there? That's that condensation I was talking about. And it builds up just like anything else, like a chimney or something. It builds up in the corners. You just want to get in there. I don't know if you can see. You just want to get in there, scrape as much of that out of there as you can. Make sure that flap is working freely, because you want as little resistance to be on that flap from opening as you can. All right, so again, it's not perfectly clean, but it's a lot cleaner. Now, I'm working on getting this big old mass of tar out of here. And this pick works good to just kind of work it in there and get this to loosen up. And like I said, again, having it just burned, you should have some heat in there. That's going to help. Other thing I've done before is if I'm just not getting enough heat and it won't come out, is to open the door. Yeah, see, look at all that coming out of there. Yeah. So again, this is kind of an unfortunate aspect to this design. And it's times like this that I do miss my conventional boiler. I will say that. You didn't have these issues with that. Okay, but times are changing, and this does have its benefits. of using a hell of a lot less wood. Okay, and you gotta be careful because there's some wires. There's the wire harnesses runs right down here. Again, it probably would have been better to be higher. Little things that engineers don't always think about. But I said this is good because what I'm trying to do is kind of reach in here and dig out, because you actually get it built up all in here. And you want to get this. If you're gonna go to this trouble, you might as well get as much of this out as you can. Yeah. So already there, we got a pretty big blob of this that came out. This tar. There you go. There you go. Get out of there. And what I think does happen is, I mean, you get a good amount of this cleaned out. You know, you're not going to get all the way in there without taking the front plate off in the boiler. But at least you get some of this out. The other stuff will melt and release and to work its way down in. Yeah, there's a bunch in there. Again, I'm just going to keep cleaning this out. So I'll probably speed this up and quit talking just so we can get this out of here. Back down for a minute here. So I opened the door just to do, because I wanted to show you how, if you saw that last little string that came out, but what I'm doing is using the boilers, getting the fire going in there to heat all the metal up. That way, if you heat this stuff up, it'll actually, believe it or not, scrape out easier. See, I'm limited to how far I can get in here. I just want to try to get as much of it as I can. I can tell already, though, the way that picked right up, we're getting more air in. Because this is acting pretty much as a chimney. This is Okay, camera's doing a little weirdness. Alright, so hopefully I'm still recording. Hopefully I recorded all that. But yeah, so here we are. Just gonna get that, I got it heated up a little bit. Got the fire going enough that we can heat this up a little bit. Still getting some up. I basically just keep doing this until either I give up or until I'm not seeing anymore, which would also be a reason to give up. I think I got everything I'm going to be able to get to. I'm just getting little chunks now. Okay. So I'm going to bring you in a little closer here. I don't know if you can see in there with the light, without any light I should say, but we got a good amount of that out of there. So I'm feeling little bits of it, but again, just based on geometry, there's only so far I can get in here. You know, but I can get all the way around the plate. And I'll point you up there. So the fire's burning. Like we're getting steam, you know, getting smoke out of there. So that means there's air getting into there now with the door closed. And I really wasn't getting a whole lot of that before. So I'm going to say, I think we got it. So now all it's left to do, and double check in here. Yeah, there's still a good amount, but I don't know, now that it closed off, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it all out of here. I'll probably end up doing this again anyway. But you get all this, you see all this stuff that came out of there, and all that was doing is blocking the air off. Now all this in here is plugging up that air. If you plug it, again, you plug the primary air up, you're not going to really burn much. So now, all I'm going to do, and I'm going to move you back over here, back up a little bit. So now, all we do is, while you're at it, you want to kind of make sure this hose clamp is freed up here. You know, sometimes it gets a little stuck on there. Like that. Okay, so you want to align this so that you got as easy a time as you can to reconnect this. Alright, but what you want to do is just take this carefully, again being mindful of the wires, slide that back on there and push it as hard as you can up against there, and you want to keep this level so that solenoid pulls straight up, and again pulls this open. And then all you gotta do is, and you're not gonna really be able to see me do this, is reach in here, kind of hold the hose clamp, move you over here, maybe you can see what I'm doing. Okay, just kind of reach in here, tighten this hose clamp back up, again keeping this in, keep it level. Try not to block your view. Okay, and again, you don't have to reef this on. It's just got to be tight enough that that won't move off. Okay, and the last thing to do is just plug the solenoid back in. Again, carefully, don't damage the solenoid, don't damage these connectors. Plug them back in. And I think I got it right. I think we remembered white in the front, right? Orange in the back. All right, that's that. You know, make sure this solenoid's still moving freely. I think we're good. So all we gotta do now is just try to get the last of this crap out of here. You know, get all the stuff that we pulled out of here. You know, and in this weather, this will solidify pretty quick. I'll vacuum all that out in the spring. Okay, make sure we didn't get any on the wires. I don't know if you can see too, those wires down there. See how the wire harness is. Again, that's why we got to be super careful when we do this, because that hot tar, you know, I don't believe these wires are Teflon, so I don't want to melt the insulation off them and short the stove out. That'd be bad. So now all we got to do is just close it back up and fire it back up. Okay. Excuse me. Oh, man. So I got that closed back up. Unfortunately, I do this with my gloves off, which my hands are not happy about, is to get this back on. Okay, so we just take this cover, take the protection cover, slide it back on there, kind of look down at the bottom, see if we can see where the screws line up, which should be right about there. And just tighten these up. Throw them in, tighten them up. Sorry if my big fat head is blocking the camera. There we go. Put that back on there. There we go. Cover secured. All right. And now, we're ready to fire back up. Okay, so now, I'm going to fire this back up. Just turn it on. Okay, so, well, of course, didn't heat up, didn't pull enough draw off of this to cool it off, but I do hear the greenhouse fan going, so we'll just get this set up. You know, I haven't refilled this yet this morning, so we'll go ahead and we'll refill it. On here, there's all that tar. Like I said, a lot of times I burn it, but I think this time we're just gonna dump her in the old garbage can. But you don't want to leave this stuff laying around. You know, you don't want your curious little puppy to go licking it or trying to see if it tastes good. You know, creosote poisonous for them. Same it is for us. I'm just gonna throw this a little bit over the fence. So looks like I got most all of it. Yeah, there might be a little bit, but there's always a little bit there because it falls off the door. Okay, so we're gonna open this up. Step away, let the smoke do its thing. And just all I'm doing now is just doing the daily what I do every day. You know, stirring up the coals there, getting them going. Actually, what's funny is I had some wood left in here, which is pretty good. Of course, it wasn't as cold last night as it's been, thank God. Thank the Lord above, as they say. But yeah, you just give this a stir, you know, trying to get the ash to settle to the bottom. You know, this boiler, just like any other, does burn better with a good coal bed. It does it in a different manner. So you got to be, one other thing to be careful of is, if you can see down there, here's where the primary is, or I'm sorry, where the secondary is, and down underneath there's a ceramic piece, basically a ceramic nozzle. And you do got to watch when you scrape these that you're not damaging that ceramic, okay, because they're not hard to replace, but they don't come cheap. And the other thing too, when you do this, you want to kind of make an air channel with the coals, and just only have the big pieces sitting right on top, because you need, I don't know if you can see, you see how the fire's tracking down, and it blows down into the reaction chamber before it gets drawn back up. So we'll leave this open here for a minute, and I'm gonna get some wood. So, since I'm not going to be gone all day, I didn't fill this up super high. Didn't fill it up super high up because I will be here. I'll probably come out here again, I don't know, sometime early afternoon to throw some more in. That's one thing, is if you fill these way high up, you've got more moisture that's going to try to come out at once, and again, that can contribute in this weather to building up that creosote plug in the primary. So again, just stuff we want to avoid there, because this isn't fun, and you don't want to do it every day. So guys, that's going to do it for me today. I'm gonna let this do its thing. You know, come back out here and check it when it burns a full cycle, and see how it does. And but I think we got that creosote problem taken care of, at least for a little while. Again, you know, I'm sure there's comments. You know, I'm just going to reiterate: we burn seasoned wood. We don't burn. I never knowingly burn green wood in this boiler. It doesn't work as efficiently. I didn't burn green wood in my conventional boiler. I definitely can't do it in here in this one. You know, this is all the wood you see over here. This has all been split, stacked for well over a year before it ever made it into here, and that sat in here undercover for a few months, quite a few months. You know, all this was moved in August, and we're into January now. So anyway, so that's gonna do it. I just wanted to show this to everybody. Like I said again, if you haven't ever checked that, and you own one of these boilers that have that set up, you know, I encourage you to do that. You don't want to get that plugged up. My dad actually on his, which is very similar, had it plug up completely to where he could barely burn it all. And of course it was super cold when he figured that out. So anyway, leave a comment below. Tell me what you think. You know, if you like what you saw, please like and subscribe. Feel free to share my videos with all your friends. Again, thanks to all the new subscribers. Thank you to everybody. But from all of us here at the beautiful Beavertown compound and Beavertown Outdoors, take care of each other, be good, stay safe, and I'm out.